Now that you got to know everyone in your team and you talked about your roles and the goals and the agreements, it is time to start focusing on the task, finally. Let's look again at the model of Tuckman and Jensen. There are 5 stages, and we've started with the first one, the startup of the team, which was forming. We've now come to the second one, which is storming. And yes, you can take that quite literally, because things might get a little messy in your team. Know that if it happens, it is completely normal. It is important to know that the storming phase does not always necessarily come after the forming phase. What do I mean by that? The model is not strictly linear. So it can be so that you fall back into the storming phase way later. Know that it is completely normal for teams to go through this, and it's not the most enjoyable stage neither. That's why I'll take my time and relax as I explain to you what it's all about. How can you imagine the storming phase? You've come to an agreement with the team, and yet after some time, frustrations about the task emerge. Also, sometimes things don't work out between people. For example, with someone who doesn't take their responsibility. And in this stage, what happens is that people speak up more, and the differences in views become clearer. Sometimes you even have subgroups emerging, in which people feel better and safer than in the large group. Sounds familiar? Together, we will look at 3 key elements in the storming phase. First, dealing with conflict. Second, how to create psychological safety, so people feel safe to say how they feel and how they see things. And thirdly, giving open and constructive feedback. Sometimes you just wanna, there is bound to be conflict. Either it be about the task or about the human relations. And I just said or, but it might be as well and, where one conflict emerges, another conflict gets triggered so easily. Conflict expands rapidly. For example, it can start with a relation conflict where someone takes feedback personal, feels attacked, and then you're off. As a team, you have to react as quick as you can when there's a conflict. Because if you let a conflict run its course, the result will go down. And, of course, it's no fun at all to be in a conflict. So what can you do as a group? Address out loud that there is a conflict. And when it's a frustration between 2 people, it's a one-on-one conversation. And if it's with plural people, you're gonna have to have a group talk. But don't avoid it. A conflict will continue to fester under the surface until at some point it flares up. So talk, and talk. Or actually, listen without judgment and talk. We need to know what happened according to the other person, according to you. How do you feel? How does the other person feel? Which mistakes did someone make? Own up to your mistakes. Ask questions. And I know this may sound a bit soft. Hey, that's the skills we're working on. But I can assure you that if you get this right, you will get a fantastic team. Talking about conflicts and not seeing these conversations as obstacles will offer your team opportunity for growth. It has everything to do with psychological safety, and your team stands or falls with it. And what is psychological safety? It is the belief that you will not be punished or humiliated for raising an idea, a question, a concern, or even for making mistakes. It means that in a team, people can take risks without being shamed by others. 2 more remarks. Just because you feel safe to say and do what you like doesn't mean everybody else feels the same way. So work on a safe space together. Second remark, yes, even if you have a team full of friends, that's no guarantee for a psychologically safe team. When I feel most psychologically safe is when I'm getting a massage. What you can do is check if everyone feels free and good. And if not, talk about it. And start with open-ended questions. Teams that talk are a lot more efficient and achieve a lot more than teams who don't. And the last piece of advice, if you make a mistake, talk about it. It will create confidence and encourage others to do the same. So what else can you do to help yourself in the storming phase? Give and ask for feedback. Teams who do are often a lot more successful than teams who don't. Make it a habit. It can be at set times, or just as well in between messages, or when you cross each other in the corridors or on the stairs. As long as your feedback has a positive intention to make things better, to suggest alternatives or solutions. Because if not, it's destructive feedback and it brings people down. And that's the opposite of what we want with psychological safety.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Okay, team, stop! We need to take a step back and look at what lies beneath this conflict. Personally, I think you take my feedback way too personal.
Well, that's because it is personal. You told Julie that she doesn't have any talents and she will never have a partner because she lacks a sense of humor.
That was a joke, of course, which proves my point. And you told Kevin that he has an irritating voice and he has small hands for a man. The only one who takes feedback too personal is you, Michiel. That's not true. I don't take it personal.
Is your team stuck or did something happen? Talk about it. Because if you don't, research has shown that you will be stuck in the storming phase or return to the storming phase. And there is a very simple exercise that you can do in this situation. It is called the stop, start, continue exercise. Everybody sits down in quiet and takes a sheet of paper and a pen. First, you write down what you think the team should stop doing. Below that, everybody writes down what they think they should start doing, including yourself. Which extra effort can you make? And then finally, you write down what the team should continue doing. Put all the sheets together and talk about it.
So Berend, I imagine in your teamwork it wasn't always smooth sailing, or was it always love and sunshine?
Well, you're right. Unfortunately, it wasn't all the time smooth sailing. Unfortunately, so we had divided the tasks, but unfortunately we had one team member that didn't meet their deadlines and didn't meet their responsibilities.
And how did that affect the group then?
There was quite a lot of annoyance in the group, and it even got to the point where two other members just didn't want to talk with them anymore. So there was a lot of tension. Not a nice time.
Sounds like a relation conflict. So how did you move on? How did you solve this?
So we actually put those three members together and let them talk it out. And it turns out that that member who didn't meet their deadlines actually felt like the ideas weren't heard enough in the beginning. So they felt a bit demotivated and therefore ended up neglecting the deadlines.
Did you go back to the team canvas, or what did you do?
Yes, we actually did bring out the team canvas again. We revised a few things, we redivided the tasks. Like that team member actually had a few interesting ideas for the presentation slides. So we tried to reshuffle things so they could pitch in on that too.
So you were able to shake each other's hand at the end of the task.
Yeah, we even gave a hug.
Thank you so much, Berend.
Thank you.
A team that pays a lot of attention to psychological safety, gives and asks for constructive feedback, and reacts to conflict swiftly is definitely the winning team.